Yeah.
Welcome to the Profit Desk Podcast. I'm Dexter.
And I'm Daniel.
And on today's episode, we got a special guest with us. We got Brian Fuller, A.K.A Credit Union Captain, joining us. As always, we appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with us. And without further ado, we'll begin. Daniel, go ahead and take us away.
Yeah, man. Brian, it's good to have you on the show.
Hey, man. I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
Yeah, so we're gonna jump right into it. So, first question: how did you get started? Who's the credit union captain, and how did you get started?
Yeah. So that's a good question. It's kind of a two-parter. It actually started because I got fired from my job that I had. In my opinion, it was unjust. I was one of the best trainers in my role, but it's neither here nor there. I had to figure it out after that phone call happened. That phone call happened, I believe it was a Thursday. I took the day to myself. I actually, at the time, I was drinking beer, so I bought a case, and I was like, I'm gonna get back to life tomorrow. I just, I think that kind of hurt, to be. I've done it for 4 years, right? So D and I were at the same spot. I was there for 4 years, a few different roles, but I really enjoyed the position I was at because it was challenging. Then I got the phone call randomly, and they're like, "Hey, this will be your last day." Da da da. And so from there, I was looking at my options, and I don't like doing much. But what I did know for a while was that I needed to have my credit in order, right? And at the time, it wasn't. It was in the 400s, like 426, I think, for Experian. Had a bunch of collections, student loans, and collections, whatever the case may be. And so I had a decision to make. One decision was, and this decision came because I was watching a YouTube video, and one of my mentors, CJU University, came across his videos on YouTube, and this was during the day that I took to myself. And I was like, okay, I'm watching these videos, and here's this brother just chilling, traveling. He was saying he was living off the swipes. Credit does this for you. Credit does that for you. And so I had another check coming in, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this check? You can either invest in yourself with money that you get, or you can spend it on foolishness. And I decided to invest in myself because it wasn't the first time I've gotten fired in Florida and not knew what to do. When I first moved to Florida, a little backstory real quick. When I first moved to Florida, I had a job at this third-party logistics company, and I got let go because apparently my own two legs are not reliable transportation to get to work. And that was a situation where I took my last check from that place and I put it on foolishness and then would invest in myself.
Wait. You said your own two legs wasn't reliable enough to get to work. What do you mean by that?
So this story is a whole different story. But I moved from Chicago to Florida, and I put all my stuff that I had at the time in my Dodge Stratus. I put it on a truck, and that truck is full of those, all my everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
The car makes it down here, right? I unload the car. The first week of my new job, transmission blows out.
Wow.
First week, right? So if you're looking for signs that I shouldn't have worked at that place, there's sign number one. There's something in my eye.
Okay.
But so yeah, that's sign number one. So I said, okay, right. Then after that, I bought a bicycle and I'm riding my bike to work. And I'm only 3 miles away.
Mhm.
So it wasn't terrible. Like, it's not like I'm 20 miles away, whatever. Like, it's a acceptable distance, especially from a former cross country runner, collegiately, right? So for me, riding 3 miles to work, not a big deal.
Oh, so you got wheels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had wheels. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So the next week, I'm riding the bike, I'm pedaling. Uh, as I'm going, somebody rolls on the window and throws a big gulp of dip spit at me. Yeah. And so obviously when they do that, it startles me. And from them startling me, the amount of I guess nervous force I had pushed down on the handlebars, like it broke the screw. It pressed on the front tire, caused me to flip over, and it popped the front tire. So within the first 2 weeks of this new job,
Yeah.
I've already had 2 signs I shouldn't be working there.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, damn, like, okay, clearly something's going on. So I said, okay, let me show this guy, because he's an old school military cat, very by the book, be on time, don't be late, da 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 da. Let me show him I'm interested. So I ran to work every day. I left every single day. I would have another pair of clothes that I would bring with me when I ran for the next day. So I wouldn't have to bring a pair of clothes every single day, like starting on Friday. Friday would be the day I bring everything back. I had a friend drive me back, but I would run to work every day. So I'm running 3 miles to work every day. Don't need to go to the gym. I'm running to work every day. I'm good. He pulls me aside and tells me that my legs are not responsible or reliable pieces of transportation. Now, mind you, I had never been late. Never been late from running to work. Never been late riding to work. And I definitely never been late driving to work. But apparently, because I didn't have a vehicle, now obviously what I know now, I could have sued the hell out of him. But
Right.
because I didn't have a vehicle, in his mind, that wasn't reliable transportation. He gave me a week to find a reliable means of transportation, or I was let go. Right. So clearly, obviously, my transmission blows out. And if you ever replace a transmission, it's way more than, a biweekly check from anywhere.
Right.
And so I had a decision to make. Here I am with a brand new apartment. Right. At the time, my credit was probably great. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to it at the time, but they let me in. So I'm assuming it was good. But then I had a decision to make. And like I said, that experience when I was a lot younger, I didn't invest in myself with the check that preceded that firing. But this not most recent, well, my last firing, because I'm not going back, but my last firing, I said, okay, let me invest in myself. And so my mentor had a course. It was $1,000 at the time. And I grabbed it. Introduced me to a whole new world of, okay, well, there's a method to the madness that goes on with credit and how it works.
Mhm.
Right. Now, mind you, that was just a jump point. That was just a starting point. Nothing really dramatic happened, but it introduced me to new information. That's all you need in life. You just need to be introduced to new information. Once you're introduced to it, now it's kind of on you to take it and run with it. And that's what I did. And so the second question of how did Credit Union Captain come about, I didn't know at the time that each credit reporting agency doesn't talk to each other. Right? Only time they talk to each other is if you submit a fraud alert. And then they make sure that they're all on the same page. Hey, all these accounts are fraudulent, blah, blah, blah. Other than that, if I apply for a bank that only pulls Experian, Equifax doesn't care. They don't know about it. If I apply for a bank or a credit union that only pulls from Equifax, Experian doesn't care, and they don't know about it. And one of the common reasons people get denied is for too many inquiries. But what most people do is they only apply at banks that they know, because those are the ones that are most heavily marketed, and all those usually pull from Experian.
Mhm.
But if you don't go to those, that's where Credit Union Captain came from. Because now you just go to credit unions all pick from one. They don't pull from all three. If you apply at Chase or Wells Fargo or Discover, Capital One especially, Capital One pulls all three. Like Capital One is taxing, right? Let's say you only want to pull from Experian or Equifax. Equifax, you got a 750, 780, whatever. Cool. I give you a list of 10 right now you can go to and get paid. And they're generous because credit unions give out more bread than banks because they're for the people.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's when I discovered the credit unions, in my opinion, were better than banks as far as getting access to funding. Now, sure, does Chase and American Express, the banks, have better cards? Of course. But if you're just using the card to get, let's say you want to put money down for a property, or you want to have an emergency credit card that you only use for emergencies, go to a credit union. Way more reliable, way easier to get access to funding. I had somebody just get a 50 piece from DCU, only pulls Experian, one inquiry. They got a 50 piece, and they don't make more than 40 grand a year. They still gave them a 50 piece. You know what I mean? So it's like credit unions are very generous. Once I learned that, and I found, I literally, I got an Excel sheet I can show you, but I literally went down and I called different credit unions in different states. I had a whole blog going. I'd pick a different state. I would call about 5 credit unions in each state. I'd say, oh, who do you pull from? TransUnion? Great. Oh, who do you pull from? Experian? Great. Boom. And just keep going. Once I had a list about like 25 of each, that's unlimited. It's unlimited now.
Okay, so you moved from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Got 2 real major signs that you shouldn't have worked at a third-party
logistics company. Yeah.
Logistics company.
Yeah.
What's that? What's all those fancy words are for?
A trucking company.
Yeah. So I help everything that's going on in Canada right now. I probably put stuff on those beds.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you work for a trucking company, and the trucking company, which is a transportation, they said that the transportation that you were using to get to work on time was not reliable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then
apparently a collegiate runner using his leg to get to work is not reliable.
Okay, so I'm just following the story. So they fired you. You spent the check, your last check, on yourself. You invested in yourself.
Not from the first place, not from the 3PL. No, I that was more, foolishness, buying stuff I didn't need to be consuming at the time, going out, whatever. But then my second job.
Okay.
The second job is the one I invested in myself. Yeah.
Okay, and that led you to Credit Union Captain.
Yep.
Okay, so there are a lot of people who don't understand this whole credit game, right? Why do I need credit? Do I need credit to make moves? Is cash really trash? Can I use both? What do I need to do to make moves? One question I do have is consumer reports versus credit reports. What's the difference, and what's legal?
So if you don't want it on there, everything is legal. Everything is illegal. Excuse me.
Everything's illegal is what you said.
Yeah, if you don't want it on there, it's illegal. So you just got to tell them to cease and desist. So a consumer report is a credit report because it contains information about who the consumer. So those are synonymous, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So those are synonymous. But let's say, for example, you don't want an account on there. Okay, cool. First thing you're going to do is just tell the company, hey, I want you to cease and desist reporting this account information. All right. Once you tell them that, if they continue to report, they are now in direct violation of a couple federal statutes, right? Because it is your consumer report, and it's literally in writing that you requested for them to not report. Anything after that, and they continue to report, is a violation of 15 USC 1681B, permissible purpose. They no longer have permission, right? And that's subject to a $1,000 fine per occurrence. So if you submitted it last year in January, you don't want them to report anymore, and it is now February of this year, that's 13 grand in your pocket.
Wait. Oh, 13 grand in my pocket. Okay, how do I do that?
So first it has to be in writing that you told them that. So you got to be able to prove it, right? So you have to send a cease and desist order. Usually you want to send it certified so you have proof that was delivered, right?
Yeah.
Once you have it, proof it was delivered, whatever their response is, save it. Doesn't matter what the response is. You're the consumer. You win. It literally doesn't matter. I don't care what they say. Oh, it's in our contract. We have the right. No. Federal law says you don't. And corporate policy does not supersede federal law in any jurisdiction ever in life. And if they say it's in the contract that you waived your rights, that's illegal too, because they didn't give you full disclosure that you would waive your rights. It has to be clear and like blatantly obvious, and no one would ever waive their rights in any form whatsoever if it was blatantly obvious, right?
Yeah.
So once you submit that, whatever they say back, if they don't do it, if there anything they say that's not in your favor, submit an affidavit of truth, which is just getting a document notarized. So it sounds complicated, but it's just getting a document notarized. So you're going to put what happened. I, so and so said on this date I wanted such and such company to stop reporting. On this date I received a response. They said they were not going to, and quoted company policy. Company policy does not supersede federal law. And you send that to the company, and you also send it to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or the CFPB. And now it's recorded in two different places. Company has it, and now the government has it.
Okay.
That's all you need to get the process started. Now, what I do is I send an invoice with that because they're already in violation. So like I said, let's say you submitted it January last year. Now you got 13 grand on the invoice. You submit that to them as well at the same time. If they don't pay it, and typically for banks, you want to give them like 3 to 5 days. You don't have to give them 30. You can give them 3 to 5. Banking is the quickest thing in the world to do. So after 5 days, if they don't honor it, after you know they received it, submit a notice of default. So now you can just put a lien on the property.
Wait. Okay, you're talking really fast.
Sorry.
You're talking really, really fast. Okay, let's back up because you said submit. How do I to start this whole process? You said submit something. Do I do that by email, or do I have to type it out, write it out, or?
So you can do it a few different ways. I would say send it via mail, right? The reason you want to send it via mail is because you have it in writing, and there's a paper trail. If you send an email, it's very easy for a company to say, "Oh, we didn't get the email." You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
But if you send a certified mail, registered mail, whatever the case may be, you have a paper trail as long as you keep detailed notes, right? And so I always say send it via mail. Some people choose not to. They'd rather call in, stuff like that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just all your level of, like, how much protection do you want, right? And like I said, I always tell everybody that, I speak with to submit it via certified mail. So you can do it that way. Then I scan everything into my printer to my computer that I submit in writing, and I send it to the CFPB because I want to register, right? Now, the third thing you can do is you can also send it to the regulator, right? So every single bank has a different regulator. Every single credit union, they all have different regulators. And for different violations, you want to send it to a different company. So example, if somebody is violating TILA or the Truth in Lending Act, you want to send it to the Board of Governors and the Federal Reserve, right? Because then they're the ones that oversee all TILA violations. And so now that you told 3 different agencies, now they're all on notice, the company can't really get away with it. I think I saw a question that came up that said, how many have they paid out? You can go down any number of avenues. You can go down IG and just type in FCRA violations, and they'll show you the bevy of proofs, all you need, that they pay out. They pay out all the time. It's just that the thing about it, like, people are like, oh, I never hear about this. Of course, you're not going to. Why would the company willingly put out that we've paid out these many people this much money because we did this to them? That doesn't make any sense. Most people that get the sums that you don't hear about, like the 14s, the 40s, the 50s, like I've seen some that are 75, you're not going to hear about it because they sign NDAs, right? Mm-hmm. Companies don't want those out in public. You're not going to hear about that. But it's all about what you know as the consumer. If I know you're violating federal law and I can prove it, and I can take that very document that shows that I told you in writing, right, via the United States Postal Service system that you violated federal law, I don't even need to show up in court to win. I just need to submit the documents in the court. Once the judge reads it, you lose. It's over. An affidavit of truth stands as the law. So now you have to send a lawyer to rebut it line by line. If you can't show with probable cause, with any of the proof you have on hand that everything I said is a lie, you lose. And now you're dealing with them. You're dealing with me. The debt collector is coming after you, not coming after me.
Gotcha. I have so many questions.
So to answer your first question, because I think I got off on a tangent there, but to backtrack, you submit it through the mail system. In my opinion, I would always go through mail. And you just always want to CC the Consumer Protection Financial Bureau, and then whoever the regulator is. And once you send it to all three parties, everybody's on notice now, and we all just wait to see how the company reacts. If the company reacts in your favor, you're good. If they don't, you're still good, because now everybody knows that they didn't do what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
you got someone reaching out to you.
Did I get all the steps correct? I'm not sure what list the steps for me, Ralph. I'm not sure.
Here we go.
Send a certified mail, cease and desist, scan everything, submit CFB, send the regulator CFB violations. Yep. And let's switch 1 and 2, but yeah. So two become before 1, but yeah. Send cease and desist, say, hey, I want you to, since reporting is voluntary, Congress states reporting is voluntary, wish that you no longer report to my consumer reports. Any further reporting is a violation of 15 U.S.C. 1681B and subject to a $1,000 fine per occurrence, according to the FCRA. And then just submit it off. Like, it's literally that simple. It can be 1 page. It doesn't need to be all, oh, you're violating this. You don't need to be a violation terrorist. Just one. You're just good. Just send one and be done with it.
There you go. Dylan Cook, what's up, brother? Good to see you.
Yeah, birthday boy.
Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday,
Dylan. The big 3-0.
Yeah. Old as hell.
Okay, man. So I'm going back to the beginning, because there may be someone on here who doesn't know this. What is a FICO score?
Okay, so that's a good question. So a lot of the things that a FICO score is what banks are going to look at, and there's so many layers for me now that where I'm at, so I'm trying to peel back to how to answer it, and then I'll go forward. But a FICO score is a score that banks use to determine if they're going to approve you or not. The Credit Karma is a Vantage score. Nobody uses that. Nobody. So if you right now, if you have a Credit Karma score and you're looking at that and think that's going to be what they're going to use to pull and to get a credit card, no, that's not how it works. Credit Karma and Vantage, the modeling is different. Some things are weighted heavier than others, which is the reverse for FICO. FICO cares more about utilization and things like that, all of which can be manipulated. You just tell a company not to report if you want to max out a card, and they don't report anymore. So, and to deny you is illegal also. So it's like, that's why I struggle to answer that, because my brain is so many different levels.
We're gonna have a show about statutes, so you can go through it and tell us what can and can't be done, what's legal, what's not legal, what should be on your credit report, what shouldn't be on your credit report, all those things, denials, exceptions, reviews, all that. So we're going to do a whole show on it. This is definitely going to be a 2-parter, because there's no way we'll probably get through all this tonight.
No doubt about it. For sure. So FICO is what the banks will look at to determine if they're going to approve you or not approve you. If they don't approve you, DM me. I'll tell you what to do next. But it's illegal not to approve you. But yeah, FICO score is what the banks use. And now, so here's something everybody should know if they don't know about Truth in Lending Act. Now they're doing FICO 10, and FICO 10 measures your utilization over 2 years now. So now it's not just what's your current utilization; it's what has your utilization been the last 2 years.
Is it an average of that utilization, or is it?
It's following it. So they're tracking what it's been doing. So if you've been increasing your utilization the past 2 years, they take note of that. Or if you've been decreasing it the past 2 years, they take note of that.
Okay. And I don't know if it's been out long enough to know the answer to this, but what happens at the bell curve, right? So utilization was going up. Obviously, your score is tanking because your utilization is going up.
Mm-hmm.
At the bell curve, once you cross over the bell curve, and now you have 5 months of decreased utilization as opposed to the last 6 months of increased utilization. At what point does it tip the scale and the score starts to go back up?
So that's a good question. There's not enough data yet. It literally, after I went to CreditCon last year, they just started talking about it. CreditCon this year is next month, so I'll be there and I'll find out more about it. But I just saw it started being rolled out recently. Not everyone uses it, and typically credit unions don't use the most recent models that bank use. So that's why I also like credit unions, because the credit unions that mostly use like FICO 4 or 5 still. I mean, you got like Navy Federal, for example, they use FICO 4. You got some credit unions they use Credit Karma, so they'll use Vantage 1. And so that's why I like credit unions a lot better. Like I said, they're for the people. Dylan said I got denied when I applied for a credit card, even though I had one for over 5 years, never had a late payment. Who was it, and what the letter say? Those are that. So yeah, so I'll keep all your denials, because whatever the letter says, that's also a check. So just make sure
we're all friends on Facebook, so send Brian a DM. I'm pretty sure he can help you out.
Yeah. Send me a DM, Dylan. I'll help you out with that.
Because I throw all my stuff at him all the time anyway. Yeah. So send it to him.
I'd be laughing, bro, because they be wilding. Like, you apply for a credit card and they send you, "Oh, we denied your loan request." I didn't apply for a loan.
Right.
What you at? What are you talking about? Define loan. Like, come on now. But yeah, so yeah, to answer your question, D, FICO scores what banks use, and it typically that's the model that has 35% is your payment history, 30% is utilization, et cetera, et cetera. Vantage, they typically weigh utilization less, and that's why the scores are typically higher for Vantage than they are for FICO.
Now, since we're going down this hole, we talked about the difference between consumer reports and credit reports and how they're synonymous. We briefly discussed their legality, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into that in another episode.
Mm-hmm.
But can we talk about where this information comes from and where it's housed, and tracking that whole process? How do we go from, hey, how do we stop people from getting our information to begin with?
Sure.
Because I'm like, I consume data like nobody's business. So
yeah,
I'm all about where the data is. So can you go through that whole process with us?
Sure. So the FCRA, or 15 USC 1681, is the statute or the laws you want to research if you want to learn more about how to prevent your consumer reports from being manipulated that are not in your favor, right? So let's say, for example, I just discovered credit yesterday. I got a bunch of stuff in my report I don't like. If you want to, right, there's a few ways you can do it. The old way, which I used to do because I didn't know any better, was I would try and find all the reporting agencies that I could find on YouTube that existed, and I would tell them, hey, stop reporting my stuff, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know I could just go straight to the source and tell the source, hey, stop sharing this information, right? I'm not sure if I can share my screen, D, or not, or can you pull up the website? I can send you the website too.
Yeah, I'm do that for
You guys
you.
see that?
And you got a quick question while I do that from
All
Demarcus.
right. What's your thoughts on how saturated the consumer law space is now? Consumer law space is not saturated because most people in this space don't understand consumer law. Um, I don't think it'll ever really be saturated because most people don't take action even if they do understand it. So, people can be like, oh, yeah, I read that, studied that, and then they don't fully understand it. And because they don't fully understand it, they're not confident enough to send out the letters that prove they understand it. If you really understood it, you would just send out the letters and you'd have the results you're looking for. You know what I'm saying? So it's like most people will read it or study it, but then they don't like apply themselves or they don't apply the stuff they're learning. So it's not really saturated yet. But even if it is, anytime you apply for a credit card or anything, you'll see Equal Credit Opportunity Act on there. All banks put it on there to cover their bases, and we're not discriminating against you. Da 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 da. None of them talk about Truth in Lending Act. None of them. None of them ever send it on a denial. Here's the Truth in Lending Act. They all say Equal Credit Opportunity Act, right? And the reason for that is because they know what they're doing is illegal. And if you know that, you can get whatever card you want open. It says right there in the definitions that it's unauthorized use of your social if they try to deny you for credit. So it's a whole different ballgame. What's your thoughts on some of those individuals misquoting the legal statutes and how they're legally interpreted? Okay, so this goes back to the first question. So yeah, so those people who are misquoting legal statutes, those talking about, oh, we need to create a DBA for your name for the straw man because this is your business, da da da, like all that stuff, like they're doing too much. You don't need to do all that. Yes, when you get, oh, perfect, that's cool. This is a dope app, man. I like the StreamYard stuff. But I think people need to just study first. There's nothing bad about it. So I think everybody who's misquoting it should send the letters off anyway and just wait for the response and learn from the responses what to do next. Because you'll learn more by doing than you ever will by just reading and not taking action. That's a good question, though. But it's definitely not saturated. Plenty of room in this space. The people who are making the most noise, making the most money in this space, you don't hear about because they all sign NDAs. I promise you, they all sign NDAs. I mean, just like I'm not going to right now, but I've sent off an invoice for $88K today for a company for myself because of the federal violations. If they send you anything that's fraudulent through the United States Postal Service, there's $1 million fine. So you can literally put whatever you want on that fine and they have to pay it. Or you go to court. And that's 18 USC 1341, frauds and swindles. But here is
I like that word, swindle.
yeah,
Swindle.
frauds and swindles. That was one of my favorite ones to read right there because it was $1 million payout. But if you read this one here, so this is the first. It's always good to read the congressional findings and statements of purpose anytime you want to study a section because it tells you why Congress felt the need to create this section. It tells you why it was important, right? So if we start at the first one, right, it says Congress makes the following findings, right? The banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate credit reporting. Inaccurate credit reports directly impair the efficiency of the banking system, and unfair credit reporting methods undermine the public confidence, which is essential to the continued functioning of the banking system. Now, there's multiple ways to interpret this, but if I'm reading it, my first understanding is, okay, Congress wants there to be confidence in the banking system, right? So if that's what Congress wants, and Congress oversees all of this, then that's what I want. I also want there to be fair reporting on fair reports within the banking system. So you want to make sure you know this and you utilize this verbiage in any of your letters you're sending in something that has to deal with the consumer report. So if I tell in Capital One, hey, I no longer want you to report to my consumer report, right? As Congress stated, the banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate credit reporting, right? You want to use all this stuff in your jargon. All right. So number 2 says an elaborate mechanism has been developed for investigating and evaluating credit worthiness, credit standing, credit capacity, character, and general reputation of consumers. Now, if you notice, they define credit and they define consumers. They never define credit. So whenever you get a denial and they say, oh, based on the consumer's credit worthiness, well, ask them straight up, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. That is not denied. That is not defined by Congress.
Yeah.
So help me understand what credit worthiness means. Because it's not defined by federal law. So if your company made up a definition, I'd love to read it and I'll submit it to Congress. But I don't understand what it means. Right. So then here, number 3 and number 4 were is most important, and then I like letter B as well. Consumer reporting agencies have a vital role in assembling and evaluating consumer credit and other information on consumers. Excuse me. There is a need to ensure that consumer reporting agencies exercise their grave responsibilities with fairness, impartiality, and respect to consumers' right to privacy. Number 4 is interesting because it talks about who?
Respect to the consumer's right to privacy.
Right.
The consumer, yeah.
So if it's the consumer's right to privacy, then that means that if I, the consumer, don't want something shared on my profile, guess what? It's not on my profile no more. Because I have a right to privacy. All right. So that's so number 4. Now, if you go back to number 3, there's a massive word. Highlight this word for me, Dexter. It's the 5th word in for number 3.
5th word in for number 3.
Yep.
Right here.
5th word in. Right? The assumed. Assumed. Well, that's weird. So Congress didn't give them this role. Congress never told the credit reporting agencies, the consumer reporting agencies, that they have this job. They just assumed it. So all this time, all the information being reported has been assumed. You never gave permission. It was just assumed you gave permission. Huh.
Okay, hold on. Time out. So where did these consumer report agencies come from?
So the 3 of us right now, the Profit Desk, create a consumer reporting agency. We just grab it from whoever shares it.
Huh?
That's it. Right? So TLO, Dexter showed me this, right?
Dan uses TLO. We skip trace all the time.
Should you use cease and desist for collection companies? Yes, definitely use cease and desist for collection companies and send an invoice on the first attempt. Cease and desist for all collection companies and send an invoice. So basically they just data mine. That's all they're doing. All these companies just data mine. All they're doing is data mining. Yeah. There's no way that a company like TLO should have as much reach as it does. And it's nice and people love it for the industry they're in, but it's super, super illegal. I never gave TLO permission to have any of that information. So how did they get it? If I, the consumer, never gave them permission to have the information, where'd they get it from? They got it illegally. And they're sharing it illegally. Now somebody else will say, oh, well, that's public record. That's public knowledge. Okay, fine. If that's your feeling about it, no problem. But now that I tell them to cease and desist reporting the information, any further reporting is now a violation of my right to privacy. So I have a check coming.
Yeah.
Who enforces the whole you receiving the funds from your inquiry?
Dexter, pull that screen back up, because that's on the very next tab.
Yes,
Glad you asked that, because I believe somebody else had that question earlier too. Wanted to say how many invoices were paid out. Scroll up.
Reasonable procedures. Where we going?
No. Scroll up. It's just there's literally a button that says next. Yep.
Oh, there we go. All right. Man, you got this whole website memorized, brother.
Sure do, brother. I sure do. I be spending all my time on here. That's where all the money is. All right. So if you scroll down, we're going to be looking at this is definitions. Where are we at? Authorization, consumer reporting agency. Hang on. They removed bureau. All right, so you can stop sharing. So the person that or the company that regulates the CFPB, and outside the CFPB, it depends on which of the big three you're referring to. But any company that you don't want to share information, they all have a regulator. So all you would do to find out who the regulator is, all you would do to find out who the regulator is you would just search the state that their headquarters are in and find the registered agent. And then once you find the registered agent, it will show you who the regulator is for that company.
Hey, Q.
Yeah. He was dreaming. Had a little nightmare.
DeMarcus says it's easier just to sue debt collectors. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. That's why you don't pay the IRS. They are debt collectors.
Hey, man. You trying to get that shut down, man? What are you doing, man? What are you doing, man? What are you really trying to do, brother?
I'm just kidding.
That's another show for another day, bro.
That's an offline conversation.
Hey, I pay my taxes.
I pay. That's an offline conversation, sir.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You have to. Good stuff, DeMarcus. Everybody's a debt collector. Everybody.
Dylan, you're working. That's working backwards, brother. Don't do that.
So who is a debt collector? So look at it this way. Did you ever ask your electric bill or water bill or your water company, electric company, to ever send you a bill?
No.
So they're debt collectors, and by federal definition, that's illegal.
Okay. So that one I struggle to wrap my head around. As someone,
service.
It's a service. It's a service. Yeah. So
15 USC 1692G.
We're gonna have to do a show on that one because tax season is coming. So we doing a show on that one.
Tax season is upon us right now.
Yeah.
Dylan says he wants to not pay. King Ford he said hook me up. He said he the best taxes. Hook him up. Dylan says those are fighting words. All right.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it slipped. Okay, I apologize.
All right. Oh man, where were we at, man? This is crazy.
I don't know. He just kind of blew up the spot.
My fault, man. My fault. So we have to make sure that the thing that we weren't taught are definitions, right? Everything we were kind of led to believe is an assumption, right? We really don't know until we study what our country determines a definition to be, what the definition is, right? So all this time, I've been led to believe that, credit was something that I had to get permission for. I had to go to a bank. If they said yes, and I get a credit card, now I'm happy. If I got denied, I get sad. Now, I'm not worthy of the Chase credit card if I don't have a 750. Yada yada. No, federal definition says credit is a right to be extended. It's not a privilege; it's a right. So I need their permission to yes or no is mine. You give me what I ask for, or you violate the Truth in Lending Act.
So how do I access my right to credit?
The IRS is.
So how do I
So let's pull up the definitions. 15 USC 1601 or 1602, excuse me.
True Vaughn. Hey, shout out to that boy that True Vaughn had the definition on, had it already on deck, had the statute ready to go.
Yeah, my man Trill knows he ready. He ready.
You gonna send me the link, or am I on the right page already?
It's in the private chat.
In the private chat. All right, got you.
Yeah. So this is the probably the biggest part of learning everything is unlearning the definitions you believe you know to learning the definitions that apply to your current situation in that moment in time. All right. And so that's the hardest part, I think, for a lot of people, because the definition and the situation changes all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So if we look here, this is the Truth in Lending Act, right? And let's go to F. Right. What does F say? F says the term credit means the right granted by a creditor, right, to a debtor to defer payment or of debt or to incur a debt for his payment. Now, if you don't know the definition of a creditor, you assume that you're not the creditor. So you're assuming the bank is a creditor. However, that's not the case. Banks can't lend money. It's illegal. Banks don't have money on hand, right? It's illegal. Title 18. All right, so if we go to G, the term creditor refers only to a person. Okay, well then what's the definition of a person according to this subchapter? Well, if we look at E, the term person refers to a natural person or an organization, right? A natural person is you or me. Huh. So if credit is the right to be granted by a creditor, that means I grant credit. I'm the one that's granting it. Right? So I grant the bank's permission to use my credit, but I don't grant the permission to sell it back to me. So give me my goddamn credit. You just got to understand the definitions.
Bro.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah. And it tells you. It tells you. And this is the part that caught me off guard the most. And this is where I believe most people get stuck. Oh, that doesn't sound real. That's, I mean, I get it. It doesn't sound real, but you're still operating from a space of not learning what the definitions mean. We went through the 3 definitions that give you freedom. The term credit means the right. Rights are not privileges. Those are rights. You can't those aren't taken away. Right? Granted by a creditor. Well, what's a creditor? The term creditor refers only to a person whom both regularly extends. Okay, well, what's a person mean? Person means a natural person. Who's a natural person? That's you, me, and everybody else on the planet.
Yeah. Vaughn says when we go in the banks, we give them our credit, then they give us money. Yep. Auto loan or mortgage. And we as creditors create the entire transaction.
This is exactly why nobody should ever be paying a down payment for a car.
Bro, you're bro.
Too much sauce.
Bro.
That's for a whole nother day. Down payments for auto loans, mortgages. That's a whole nother subject for another day.
Yeah, man.
And we had like an hour-long talk about that in the car on the way back from Miami the other day. Yeah, man, that's something that that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Just tap us with that just a little bit. Just a little bit of that.
Oh, the auto loan?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So we're gonna do 2 things. All right. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna scroll down to H. Okay. And then we're gonna have to go back a page. So we're gonna need to have you guys have to just follow along the best you can, and then just we can type the links in the description afterwards. But
yeah. Yep.
So if we're at H, right? The term credit sale refers to any sale in which the seller is a creditor. Now we know who that is, right?
Yep.
term includes any contract. It says any right here, right? It says any contract in which the form of a bailment or lease is the bailee or leasee contracts to pay as compensation for use of some substantially equivalent to or in excess of the aggregate value of the property or services involved, and it is agreed that the bailee or leasee will become or for no other or nominal consideration has the option to become the owner of the property upon full compliance with the obligation contract. Now, we have to go back, so scroll up and hit that previous button for me, D.
That was a whole lot of word salad.
Sorry.
We're going now.
All right, so right here for B, right? Now, B says, and this is again why you read the congressional findings of Declaration of Purpose. Why would Congress make the Truth in Lending Act? This is what we got to understand before we even get into the whole chapter. Congress decided that, right? The Congress also finds that there has been a recent trend toward leasing automobiles and other durable goods for consumer use as an alternative to installment credit sales, and that the leasees have been offered without adequate cost disclosures. So Congress has noticed that consumers have been disrespected as it pertains to cost disclosures as it pertains to credit sales.
Yeah.
Right? If Congress decided that, it probably shouldn't be leasing cars, right? Because Congress says that's legal. We should just be taking them as installments. It is the purpose of this subchapter to assure a meaningful disclosure of the terms of the leases of personal property for personal, family, or household purposes, so as to enable the leasee to compare more readily the various lease terms available to him, limit balloon payments in consumer leasing, enable comparison of lease terms with credit terms where appropriate, and to assure meaningful and accurate disclosures of lease terms and advertisements. Now, the main part here is the second sentence where it says it is the purpose of the subchapter to assure meaningful disclosure of the terms of leases, personal property, or for personal, family, or household purposes. That part is described in the FDCPA, and that's any consumer transaction in the FDCPA. So that's why you'll see layers to this. So if the FDCPA describes any consumer credit transaction as it pertains to the purpose, or as it pertains to personal property, personal property for personal, family, or household purposes, and Congress says that anything that has to deal with the credit sale so far companies have not been forthcoming with their information. Then we go, so that's why I'm saying there's layers to this. That's why I don't really try to teach too much of this.
Yeah.
It's very heavily layered, and if you're not paying attention, you can get stuck. But now we need to go back. So click the next button for me.
Yeah, go back.
Yep. So go to next, and then we're gonna go down to finance charge.
Where is that at?
I'm looking at my side.
Just search for it.
Yeah, we could do that, and then if not, it's 1605.
Finance charge. There we go.
Yeah. All right.
Should I be? There we go.
Yeah, scroll. Just go up and let's go. It's truly right. It feels like the Matrix. Go all the way up.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, we're on the wrong spot. Hit subchapter 1.
There we go. We're back where we were now.
Yeah, scroll all the way up for me.
Yep.
And then all the way. Hit part A.
Okay.
And then hit determination of finance charge 1605.
Okay.
Perfect.
There we go.
Now, here we go. So, except otherwise provided in this subsection, I'm going to try and go slow. The amount of charge in connection with any, you can highlight that part for me, any consumer credit transaction, right? And any consumer credit transaction is anything with personal property for personal use, property, etc., shall be determined as a sum of all charges payable directly or indirectly to the person to whom the credit is extended, right? And imposed directly or indirectly by the creditor as an incident to the extension of credit, period. So What this first part means, the sum of all charges. If you ever bought a car before and you get to that little finance office and you know for a fact everything in the world is added afterwards, all of that is illegal. The only thing you're responsible for as a consumer is the finance charge. It says so right here. The sum of all charges, right? So let's scroll down, right? Examples of charges which are included in the finance charge. It says right at the bottom of this paragraph, right? Examples of charges that are included in the finance charge include any of the following types of charges which are applicable. If all of this is not in that finance charge, that contract is illegal and you can sue them, right? Let's look at number 5. How many times do they tell you got to get insurance for you drive off the lot? Every single time, right? Number 5 shows you right here. Premium or other charge for any guarantee or insurance. They have to include the insurance in the finance charge. They can't charge you for that separately. It's illegal. That's a check. It says right here.
DeMarcus has a quick question for you.
That's a whole different conversation, brother. Me personally, I endorse him, but that's a different conversation.
Oh gosh, I'm kind of like Dylan.
I feel like like your whole life was a lie.
Bro, imagine how I felt, bro. I got fired I got fired and I was like, man, I'm so worried about money. And I realized that everything I've ever done was a violation in some sort. I could have made so much money from the last company that fired me. I probably still can because fraud, there's no statute of limitations on fraud. So technically, matter of fact, I just got a good idea. Thank you, Dylan.
Oh gosh. Okay.
If you buy a car, everything needs to be included. It has to be. It says so right here in this determination of finance charge.
So
right?
Everybody is doing everything illegally.
Yes.
And you can get a check from everybody because everybody's raping you.
Yeah. So you want to see something crazy? So let me show you this real quick. Dex, go to part A real quick.
Let's see here.
Yep. Click part A at the top, all the way at the top. Now go to criminal and willful liability at the bottom, 1611. Watch this. Watch this, Daniel.
Liability.
Watch how much money you're about to make. All right. So look, it says whoever willfully and knowingly. Now listen, these companies have been in business for 70 plus years, so it's automatically willfully and knowingly. Right? It's automatically willfully and knowingly. It's automatic off the rip. Right? So gives false or inaccurate information, that's a comma, or fails to provide information which he is required to disclose under the provision of the subchapter or any regulation issued thereunder. Number 1 is already violated if they charge you an interest, if they charge you for insurance outside of the finance charge. Number 1's already violated. Already. Because they didn't willingly disclose the information. It's illegal. Part 1, done. That's already willful noncompliance. Right? Number 2 is kind of irrelevant. Number 3, otherwise fails to comply with any requirement imposed under the subchapter. Shall not be fined not more than $5,000 or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. So you collecting a bag and you can send somebody to prison. Somebody going to prison or I'm getting my bag.
Crazy.
And that's just if somebody just disrespects you from buying a car. And if they require a down payment, that's illegal. You can't require a down payment. They can't take cash and credit in the same transaction. It's illegal. The violation of TILA. They must take one or the other.
Dexter, this is too much.
Sir. Yeah, man. We're gonna well, we actually got a couple of simple questions coming in, so we're gonna really because we're gonna do a whole show about that one. Hold on. Here we go. There we go. This one right here. Can you talk about third-party agencies that house our info? LexisNexis, SageStream, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, can we go back towards the shore? Because
Yeah, we get a little too deep for 1 second.
All right, sorry, my fault. My
No,
fault,
all good,
man.
brother. All good. I'm gonna actually close this. Well, I'm not gonna close it. Just gonna put it on hold for a second, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about third party agencies that house our information. How can we restrict that information, and how we should go about that. And as always, guys, we'll put the links in the description when we're done. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first question I want everybody to have going forward is, do I give consent for this? And that's when you really start to see the power of understanding the consumer laws. Is if you don't give consent, it's illegal, right? So you just tell these companies to stop. They've been
Yeah.
operating without your permission all this time. They've gotten paid all these years. You tell them to stop now, they try to fight you on it. They're gonna lose, and they'll lose a bag or they'll lose a big one. So, LexisNexis, for example, the CEO is Mark Kelsey. I talk,
Hi,
I send,
Mark.
yeah, I send him letters often. But essentially, you just want to let these people know that, hey, I no longer consent to you share my information. You want to also request an audit trail, right? Send me everything that you've ever done with my information. I want all documentation sent to me, because if I request that you cease and desist reporting to whoever you're reporting to, and you say you did, how do I have proof?
Yeah.
Right? How do I have proof? I don't have proof. So send me an audit trail. Show me everybody you ever talked to about this information. Then show me how you got it. Because I know it wasn't, you didn't ask me. And the only way you can verify information legally, according to FCRA, is if you talk to me and I verify the information. I don't care if you talk to friends, family, relatives, or you have a contract. If I don't verify it, it's not verifiable according to FCRA.
Right.
Right? So LexisNexis and SafeStream, they're the same company now. Innovis is another one. They're owned by CBC companies. Their main contact, I think his name is also Mike. But just tell him to stop. Yep, 15 USC 1681. And like I said, guys, you don't really need to sound like a violation terrorist. I like to use that phrase. I got it from somebody. But you want to make sure that you just let them know, like, hey, like any further reporting without honoring my consumer request, like it's going to be a problem. And then you just let them know that I'm coming for you. Like that's all it is. But a lot of consumers don't know they can do this. Like they feel they need a lawyer, they feel they need this, and this. You just have to know what you're doing. Like if you walk into Publix, you buy a sub, the sub isn't what you wanted, you take it back. No consumer is afraid to do that, but a consumer is afraid to tell somebody, stop sharing my information, or I'm gonna come after you for the money you owe me. Like that. For me, that was the part that I had to disconnect with. Like if I'm gonna go back and get a new sub, I need to be able to go back and get a new check for somebody disrespecting and violating my federal rights. And so I think that more consumers, once they know they have the power to do that, they'll probably start doing it. But this consumer laws will never be saturated. It can't be. It's just if people will take the action, they'll get the result, whatever result you want. And if they don't give it to you the first time, you get to send them an invoice. You collect your
Yeah.
remedy for them violating it. You've already gave them a warning. The first communication was the warning. So after
No.
that, they're in violation.
And now I know you can go down a whole section on remedies. We will say that is
Sorry,
30 minutes. I will save that for another time. Don't
my fault,
don't go
man.
down remedies yet. No,
I,
you're
I
good,
was
brother. You're
I was
good.
about to say, let's put a bow on this, man, because there's so much information for the people who are watching, going to rewatch this.
Yeah,
Man, this is very, very valuable and I think it's very valuable for us. I would say
absolutely.
that for us.
Yeah. For the people that are still tuned in and still watching, we're about to take our last questions of the evening. We're going to start wrapping it up. But while you're here, please like and subscribe. You guys have been very
Yes.
interactive tonight. We appreciate you coming through. Subscribe to the channel. This won't be the last time. We're going to have Brian on, a credit union captain. We're also going to have some people come on in the mortgage industry. We got crypto coming up. We've got all kinds of stuff coming up for you guys. So please subscribe to the channel. It's going to be crazy. So make sure you stay tuned with us. All
You said you had
right.
any questions?
Let's see. Do we have any more questions before we close out for the night? Anybody with any questions? All right, and it doesn't look like we do, so I will
D, did you
say
have?
this.
You said you had some. You had a list of questions. No, you had about 5 or so.
Yeah, we're gonna say that for part 2, brother.
Yeah.
We gonna save it for part 2, because if I ask one question that I have,
Don't
we're,
do
we're,
it.
we're all here for another hour. So yeah,
Don't do
we're
it.
gonna say that for part 2, man. But I do want to know, before we go, do you have um Aaron Voss says, do you have any information to sell? I don't think got any information to sell, but hey, go check out my boy's book, Better Than Banks. I think it's still on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on my link tree on my IG page. Um, but yeah, man, I'm definitely more in the education space now. I like talking about this kind of stuff more than everything else is.
Thanks, Marquise. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, appreciate that, Marquise.
So you don't have a course or anything.
No, not yet. I'm working on one. I'm gonna have it released probably before summer. Um, but right now, I'm focusing on getting the results lined up for the situation specifically, so I can add them to the course.
Sure.
So I don't want to make the course now um, without that, because one of people's favorite question is, "Oh, let me see it working," and then that annoys me because it works, but you can't always share what works because you have to sign NDAs and stuff. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, D, you said you had one more question.
I'm not gonna ask that question, but we're
He
gonna
does.
I
He
let
doesn't have any
Trayvon
more
ask his
questions.
question.
He doesn't have any more.
I don't have any more, brother. No,
There are no more
Trayvon,
questions.
if you can answer this quickly, then answer it. Can you explain
So
communication?
communication is anything. So it could be directly or indirectly.
We got questions coming in
Was
from everywhere. All right.
what was that last one? Should you go after the credit bureaus or collection agency first when moving negative items from report? Well, it depends on what's on the report. That question needs to be a little bit more detailed for me. So if they have collections on the report, go to collections first. I never really did go to collections for if they're on collection on your credit report. But if there's something else on your credit report you want off, then you would go to the CRAs for that. But in my personal opinion, what I've seen recently is don't go to the big three first. Go to the main creditor first and tell them cease and desist, and then send that information once they respond into the big three, and you'll get a response better that way. Showing proof that you've already told this company to cease and desist, and any further reporting is a violation of 15 USC 1681. And now, if they also continue to report it, they're now in violation of that as well. So you get 2 checks: one from the creditor, one from the FCR, or one from the credit reporting agency. But again, keep detailed notes. I got a whole organizational cabinet for this is due on this date. If they don't respond by this date, I'm sending this check. Da 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 da. You got to be detailed. If you're not detailed, you can't come to court like, well, I think I sent, Your Honor, I think I sent it on Tuesday of this month, but I forgot, and I may have sent it on this day, but I never got proof. You got to be detailed. Certified mail. You have it all printed out for you. It's all registered on the website. It's good. You can just use that. Honor on this date. They received it. I received it on this date. They told me they weren't going to honor it. Shh. They told me they weren't going to honor it. Shh. Enough. Told me they weren't going to honor my request, and then that's how you win. And the question before that was communication. Any communication is directly or indirectly. So if they're reporting something on your report to anybody, whether that be with your consent or without your consent, or to a third-party agency, whatever the case may be, that's communication. If they send you something in the mail via postcard, a phone call, that's all communication. So if you tell them to cease communication, they must cease all forms of communication. If they don't cease communication and they still report somewhere in there, they're violating that statute, and that is $1,000 violation per occurrence. So no matter what avenue it is. If they're reporting it to all three, that's $3,000. That's one violation for Experian, one for TransUnion, one for Equifax. If they're reporting it to Innovis and LexisNexis, that's two more. That's $5,000. So communication that's why you want to cease and desist with that company first, in my opinion. Other people might do it differently. I know people that just do FTC fraud reports and they try to wipe a report and get credit card before it all pops back up. That's not my style. I'd rather just do it the legal way and collect the check and be good. But that's about it. That's all I got on that.
I got I have one final question. Could you give us an example of where you received a check for you going through this whole process?
Yeah. I got a remittance check I just submitted for one credit card bill for $5,000. I just got taken care of yesterday. Let me see. I just submitted a $14,000 one for Hunter Wayfield 2 days ago. It was a collection company for that apartment that I told you about when I first got evicted from.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody bought the debt, and they've been trying to communicate with me ever since, which is way past what they're supposed to be able to communicate with me. So I sent them the list of violations, and that I was nice because I didn't send them the full $1 million violation that a fraud and swindle is. 18 USC.
Swindle, all right.
Yeah, 1341. You can't send fraudulent mail through the United States Postal Service. No, you can't. It's illegal. So if they send you anything saying you owe us this debt and we're willing to settle for this amount, no, you're not, because I never signed anything with you. That's a lie. And so if you can show me the contract with my signature or your company's signature, which their company can't sign anything, it's illegal, then I'll be happy to pay it. But I'd never entered in a contract. Therefore, it's a fraud, and you're trying to swindle me out of my money.
That's strong.
Yeah. So I can cite you for $1 million, and your company will be out of business tomorrow. So, but it truly is. And I want people to get this part, because everything sounds good that I'm saying right now. Everything I'm saying, you can verify by going to the websites we're going to list in the description.
Yeah.
I'm not making anything up. It's literally all, how much do you understand? The more you understand, the more titles you read, the more you can apply to a certain attempt at taking what you rightfully own. If a company come after you for money that they claim they owe, like they're owed because they bought something that you didn't get the permission to buy in the first place, how is that your responsibility? If Daniel buys something, if Daniel lends Dexter $20, 3 months go by, Daniel comes to me and says, "Man, I can't get that $20 from Dexter." I say, "You know what? I'll give you 10, and let me go get that 20 from Dexter." Does Dexter owe me $20 now? No.
No, right. No, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So paying collection companies don't make zero sense to me, because that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. It's the same situation. So they want to go after me, and they want to try to take me to court over a debt they claim I owe them. Okay, perfect. Let's go. I will happily show up. Your Honor, here are the violations that they're currently violating. And because they brought us here today and they sent this via the United States Postal Service, it is $1 million fine. Would you like to have them serve that now, or do you want them to make installments? 18 USC 1341. Look it up. I'm not making it up. You can read it.
And RHJ Visuals, yes, sir. We will have the rewatch posted on the channel shortly after this live ends. Subscribe to the channel. Feel free to rewatch as many times as you like. This is just part one. We're gonna have another part to this in more detail, and we may just turn this into a series and do a whole credit series for you guys, for sure.
5 parts.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Anything you guys need, I'm at CreditUnionCaptain on IG. But that's about it. Study. Learn your rights. That's my biggest parting gift I can give you. The more you learn about what you guys have access to legally by federal law, the more you'll realize these companies have been taking advantage of a lot of us for a long time. And the more we learn, the more we earn. I promise you.
All right. Well, we appreciate you, brother Daniel. Do you have anything before we take off, man?
No, man. I got that head exploded emoji.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
Well, we appreciate you, bro. To everybody that tuned in tonight, we appreciate you. This has been an episode of the Profit Desk. As always, We appreciate you for continuing to rock with us. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, everybody. Have a good one.